Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and move right on into getting this wall scroll into the game. We spent episode 3 creating this custom wall scroll from scratch. Those of you that followed along and succeeded in doing it, congratulations, because you just made your own model. Even though it's simple, yeah, whatever, it's still an accomplishment. Pat yourselves on the back, guys. All right, so we want to get this thing put into the game, right? That's what you've been anxious for. You've been 3 episodes now going, Faye, just show me how to do it already. Well, I'm getting there. It's a step-by-step process. I had to show you the extraction of the files and then getting Blender installed, and then we made the model. So this episode is it, guys. This episode is it. This is the one where you guys are going to get this wall scroll in the game. So let's roll the intro and let's get this in the game. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start importing some game assets to get this wall scroll positioned. I'm going to go to File, Import, and this is it. This is where we finally start bringing game assets in, SCS models. I already have my truck simulator bookmarked. In my case, it's Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, American Truck Simulator. Wherever the base game is installed on your computer, this is where you're going to. You're extracting these files directly from the game. Before we do any of these imports, I'm going to cancel out of here. We want to go up to our tab up here with the wrench and a screwdriver and make sure that we are still in the project file that we created in episode 3. In my case, I did as episode 3/01 initial. I'm going to leave it as that because we took our wall scroll already. Our wall scroll's assets, the textures, are in that working directory. We want to keep this stuff together. So make sure that you are using the same SCS project base path that you created in episode 3. Otherwise, things are going to go south really quick. All right, so once you've got that set to your project base path, we're going to go to Import SCS Models, Converter Pics, FBT. We're going to navigate to your truck simulator directory, which is usually by default whatever hard drive you have it on. If it's on C drive, it might be in program files, but either way, if you guys are familiar with Steam and familiar with games, you should know by now kind of how to get to your game library. Now, if you do not, and you're not comfortable with trying to get to the game directory, let me show you a little bit of shortcut. I'm going to open up my Steam here. I'm going to go to my library. And here's a quick way to find out where your game is installed. I'm going to right click on American Truck Simulator and I'm going to go to Manage. All right, Manage. And then I'm going to select Browse Local Files. Here it is. It pops right up. In my case, I have it on a games drive. I don't use the default install directory because I put my games on a separate drive. You'll see base, DLC, and all kinds of SCS files in here. I'll just go ahead and copy. I'll select it, right click and copy the path, and you can come right here to Blender and paste it and go there. Once you get to this stage, before we go any further, to save you having to do this in the future for importing any mods, I highly suggest coming down here on the left side where it says bookmarks and hit the little plus symbol, which will add American Truck Simulator as the bookmark. And it'll be called American Truck Simulator because that's what Steam titles your game in the thing. Once you have it bookmarked, you never have to worry about that again. So now when I come to File, Import, SCS Models, Converter Pics, FBT, it's right here on my bookmarks. I just click it and here's my game. Now we need to choose what we're going to import as far as our file structure. There are multiple files we're going to access at the same time here, but we have to choose them and add them to our list. In the upper right hand corner here, you're going to have a section called Extra Archives to Use. And it says no extra archives. We're going to change that right now. I'm going to click on, and by the way, what I'm about to do, you need to do this every single time you import a asset from the base game, from any part of the game, any DLC, and even most mods. Even if you're trying to access a third-party mod or one of your mods that you created in the past, you actually need to add 3 files in particular. Base.scs. I always add this. I always add that because it has the base assets of the game. Base share SCS also has a lot of shared assets for the game. The third one depends on what you're doing. Are you working with a vehicle or are you working with the map? If you're making a map mod, you're going to put base map up there so that you have access to your map assets. We're not, though. We're not working with a map. In this case, we're making an accessory for the truck. So I'm going to click on base vehicle and put base vehicle in the list. So now I have 3 items up here: base, share, and base vehicle. If I wanted to just import a base asset from the game, this would be enough. However, what we're doing with this wall scroll today is putting it into a truck. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit Freightliner Cascadia DLC Freightliner Cascadia 2019.scs and add this to the list. If you are feeling froggy and brave, meaning you don't want to follow this tutorial series precisely right down to which truck I'm using, you could choose a different truck. Go for it. If you really want to make things easy, I suggest let's go ahead and stick with the Freightliner Cascadia and get this done today, all right? So we got the Cascadia 2019 and my base share, and base vehicle. By the way, another thing to note, the order of priority in these extra archives is top to bottom, meaning that the base is overridden by base share is overridden by base vehicle. Cascadia 2019 is on top of all these. That means, let's say I want to import a mod that's based off the Cascadia 2019 and has its own chassis and stuff. If I add that to the bottom there, I will see the mod chassis and the mod cabin and all that. However, if I accidentally have it above the Cascadia 2019 and the Cascadia 2019 is on the bottom, I'll actually see the default chassis and the default cabin. Remember that. That's actually very critical. All right, so in this order from top to bottom: base share, base vehicle, Cascadia 2019. Now I'm going to import an SCS file. This window will pop up. Be very careful. Don't accidentally click outside this window or it'll go away and I'll have to start over again, meaning going File, Import, SCS Models. The good news is, if I accidentally click out, my archives are still there. For as long as I have Blender open, these files will remain like that unless I change them. Now, let's say I accidentally add an archive, like I just added base map at the bottom here. Well, I don't want the map because we're not working with the map files. On the right, you'll see these gray check marks. Put a check mark there and then click X to remove, and it will remove the archive from the list. That way, you can take away archives and add archives as you need every time you save and load. Now, if you close Blender and reboot it, however, this will be cleared out and you'll have to add all the files in. Just be forewarned on it. All right, so one last time, I'm going to confirm with you guys: base share, base vehicle, Cascadia 2019 in that order. I'm going to go import SCS. Now we're going to see the directory structure of any files included in those 4 files. We're trying to put this into the Cascadia's interior. So what I'm going to do is go vehicle. I'm going to go truck, Freightliner Cascadia 2019. Then I'm going to go into the interior, into the model folder. And in the model folder, I'm going to bring in the SL72RR_D. That's the interior. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Why? Because of all the default SCS interiors, this one is closest to the one that I drive in real life. It is SL is sleeper, 72-inch sleeper. That's what the 72-inch is for. The RR is the raised roof, and the D means this is the digital dash edition. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And depending on how powerful or weak your computer may be, this will load at different rates. All right, it will come in. So now we have this cabin, and it's going to look like a mess. It's probably going to intimidate you when you first look at this. That's okay. Trust me. the feeling is mutual. When I first loaded an asset into Blender for my first time trying to mod, this scared the hell out of me. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of crazy fluff going on here. And let me go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and give a rundown as to different aspects of a typical SES model. So you obviously have the visual attributes, of which if it looks like things are doubled, I'll show you that in a minute as well. I'm gonna show you this in a minute. But first, let's go over to basics. You're gonna notice these meshes that are solid purple. If you go into the material tab, into the material properties for this purple, the shader preset says shadow only. These are usually lower poly than the rest of the model. They're usually a separate mesh because of the fact that their entire sole purpose is, if you probably guessed from the name, to cast shadows. This casts shadows within the cabin and it'll cast shadows outside, you know, on the ground or whatever. Every vehicle in Truck Simulator has a shadow of some sort on it, so it has this purple. Okay, you'll notice these right here, these are collisions. You're probably thinking, okay, Faye, this is a truck interior, this is not the exterior. Why does the interior have collisions? The entire purpose of these two collisions here is to keep toys, your danglies. If you have danglies in your window, or a dangly hanging from up here, one of, you know, like the skull or the globe or the Goodyear blimp or whatever, hanging from here, and you're going along a bumpy road, it's swinging all over the place, it's not going to clip into your graphics, and it's not going to be clipping through your windshield. It will actually look like it's hitting the windshield and bouncing off, or if you're really going on a rough road, hitting the ceiling and bouncing off. This keeps your toys in check. What about all these arrows? These are nodes, and we are going to be working with these today. So you will get to know these intimately. When you're in a game, when you go to customize the truck, you know how when you go to choose the exterior or interior accessories, how there's a bunch of little round dots that you click? Guess what makes those round dots? If you really look, you'll notice that it's kind of a familiar layout, right? When you're clicking the node in the game to put little magnets on your fridge, well, there's the node. And look what it's called. It's called Set Cabinet. Here's my toy table, my toy bed. I bet you can guess what goes in the corner here. What do you guys usually put in the corner? Your pillows. And then we have back panel. By the way, this is the node we're going to be working with today. Now, one of the things about bringing a model into the scene and wanting to try and focus on a certain task is that all these arrows and everything else will probably be distracting you or in the way and really messing with your grip. That is not a problem. There's a shortcut to making certain things appear and disappear. With the SES tools activated, you have a whole menu of things to use up here. You have add, which you could add root objects and model locators, which, by the way, that's what these blue arrows are. These are the root objects, model locators. If you're working with a map, you have prefab locators and collision locators. All right, so you have those. There's all kinds of, actually, there's a lot of stuff in this menu that I have never, ever touched. There's also a lot in this menu that is duplicated. You'll notice workspace properties. That's actually a duplicate of what we have right here. World properties is literally a duplicate of what we have. Where's it at? Right here. I never use them in this menu. I always just use this tab over here. But if you for some reason lose track of stuff over here, you still have access to it through the SES menu. The biggest thing that I use this SES menu for, I almost never use the SES tools menu except to add root objects or model locators, or to use the visibility tools. Now, the visibility tools, I never touch these two buttons up here. I always leave it global. What I like to do is click this upper left box that says view model objects. Look at that. It made anything that wasn't a visible mesh go away. All the nodes are gone. Everything is gone. So now all you see in the scene is what you would see in the game. If it's not something that's visible to the player in the game, it's hidden right now. But you're probably thinking, well, it looks like there's like multiple things overlapping here, man. What's going on there? Well, that's not a problem. What I'm going to do is I am going to, I'm going to make my wall scroll invisible as well. I'm going to go drag down all these eyes here. I'm basically making everything in the scene invisible, okay? The only eyeball I don't touch is this top one. This top one is collection. This overrides everything, and so you won't be able to see anything even if the eyeballs are on down here. So if I do like these eyeballs, I have those nodes, and I hit this, it makes the whole scene invisible. So for the collection line, always leave that eyeball on. All right, so now everything's invisible, yeah? What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the SL72RR_D, okay? And I'm going to go to the orange box that says Object Properties, and I'm going to scroll down, and you're going to notice there's a couple of variants, okay? You have the Digi-Gray and a Digi-Tan. If I click the Digi-Gray, it brings up just the digital gray variant of the truck. So if you choose the digital gray interior, this is what will appear. Now it brings everything associated with it, including the nodes and stuff. These are what's called variants. So basically this is one model in the game, but it actually has multiple meshes and pieces that are assigned to appear or disappear depending on what options you choose in the game. If I make that go away by clicking the eyeball again, and I click Digi-Tan, here's the tan variant. Here's the tan interior. Fortunately, you guys don't have to stress about this today. Please do not worry about this, because what you're going to do for today's mod has nothing to do with any of this. I'm just trying to give you kind of a crash course, drink from a fire hose level introduction to bringing SCS models into Blender and what they consist of. I'm going to actually come back up here and do the visibility tools and bring it back to this. And I'm going to, again, make my wall scroll invisible. The next thing in the visibility tools, you have this thing called shadow casters. If you click that, it makes everything invisible except for the purple stuff. So now we're looking at everything that casts the shadows. Now, because of the way it's solid here, it's almost hard to see what it's like. Sometimes what I'll do here is I'll click on the shadow and I'll just click tab to go into edit mode. And now I'm starting to see more what the shape is like. And if I hit A, I select all the verts and it even makes it more visible so I can kind of see. So there's all the shadows in the truck right there. Interestingly enough, I don't know if this is a bug or what, but for some reason, SCS software put the table and chair shadows in with the bed versions of the variant. The good news is I don't really notice it in game. I don't notice a table shadow getting cast on the bed, but whenever I'm in Blender, that just bugs the shit out of me. It's just saying. If we want to take a look, say, at all the glass objects. So here's the windshield, which I can barely see. I don't know. It's almost like it's made of glass or something, huh? Yeah. Glass objects are very, very hard to see in Blender. I almost have to tab on it or maybe even go into edit mode to really see what that object is. If you're having trouble finding a glass object, you can just scroll down in the outliner because we use the menu to do the glass objects. It looks like this windshield is the only glass object that's available in the scene, which is also connected to the windows on the back. So all the glass looks like it's one object. The next thing we can look at is the static collision objects, which there are none on this scene, so can't really show that. You can view all locators. So this brought up, and by the way, these collisions are considered locators. All right, that's why under SCS tools, you can add a collision locator and it becomes a collision in the game. So just so you're aware of that. And anytime you guys have a collision in your model and you export it, if you guys notice in the game, certain definition files looking for a PMC file, this becomes that file. These collisions will become their own PMC for the game. All right. Again, we're not going to get too deep into that in this particular episode. If I want to just view model locators, there's that. I'll go ahead and flip through the last of these real quick. Prefab locators, I'm not even going to click on because there won't be any. And then collision locators, I can narrow it down to that so I can just see my collisions. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to visibility tools and I'm just going to go back to model objects. By the way, you'll notice my wall scroll reappeared. It's because even though my wall scroll isn't attached to the truck yet, it's still part of the scene, and SCS Blender Tools is smart enough to know, hey, this is a solid mesh. It is not any of this other stuff. So we're going to hook it to visible items unless the player somehow makes it something else. So now we've got the truck in the game, right? Now we need to attach it to the node back there. Now back panel, I'm going to go ahead and click the eyeball on it. The back panel is right here, and this is pretty much where that wall scroll is going to go. Okay, so I'm basically ready to add this wall scroll in and put it under my back panel. We need the accessory node for it. We're going to go ahead and add, and I'm going to add a root object. Okay, root object. So I'm going to bring in this root object, which brings in these big lines here. So this root object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name it. By default, it came out as game object, and it's like way down here at the bottom. I'm going to name this wall scroll because that's what this accessory node is going to be, is my wall scroll. My wall scroll is going to have multiple images to choose from in the future, but that's not going to be covered in this video. We'll cover that later. The parent, under relations here, we're going to click and I'm going to type BCK for back panel, and that will move the node to the back panel. Now, something just happened to me that is a glitch that happens with me in Blender. Guys, I don't know what causes this. It does it sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Blender is just moody. But what happened was it ghosted the parenting. There's a particular term for this in the Blender world. I forget what it is. I looked it up once, but I don't remember. But you see how the wall scroll text is kind of grayed out? Okay, it's parented under the back panel, but physically the wall scroll is not even a part of the scene. So that's kind of annoying. I could go ahead and just drag and put the wall scroll there, and boom, there it is, centered on the panel. Now, one way to kind of prevent this, but anyway, that solves it. For some reason, if that happens to you, just drag it over the thing and it'll be squared away. I don't know why Blender's doing this to me right now. I've been working with this version of Blender for about a week and a half now, and it never did that to me. But of course, now that we're at the stage where I'm recording a video for you guys, it's gonna start doing stupid stuff. I apologize for that. It's a weird glitch, but in a way, like I said, I'm glad it happened because now you know how to deal with it if it happens to you. All right, so now we got wall scroll. Yours should look like this. The wall scroll should be right below the back panel. And now I need to take and put the components that we created in the last episode under this node. So I'm going to come up to cylinder and I'm going to type wall, and that's going to put the part under. Well, at least that moved in there correctly. Small favors. I guess just the node didn't want to assign. Anyway, so the cylinder is in there. Cylinder.001, which was what? It was our caps. That's now on there. And my ellipsis is now on there as well. Okay. So there is my wall scroll centered on and assigned to the node. Now we're ready to go play the game. Let's go. I'm just kidding. We need to position this. So let's go ahead and position this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the top of these items and then shift and click on the bottom, which selected all three. Whatever you named your items when you were following along with me in the episode, just click on the top one, shift, and click on the bottom one so that you have all of them selected. Now what I want you to do is hit the tab key. With the tab key selected, you'll notice that not everything is glowing orange. That's because we were like editing stuff individually. That's okay. Hit the A key. Basically where we're at here, we are in edit mode for all three items at once. We can manipulate all three items just like this. I am going to rotate this. And remember, we did some of this in the last episode as well, so you should already be familiar with what I'm doing. So I'm going to hit the R key, I'm going to hit the X key, and type 90, and I hit enter. R, X, 90. I just rotated this on the X direction, and it is now upright. Now I need to turn it around because it's got to face the front of the cabin, yeah? So we're going to RZ, because now I'm rotating it on a vertical axis, and I'm going to go 180 because I'm turning it 180 degrees and hit enter. And now the wall scroll is facing forward and correct. Now we need to deal with sizing issues. I'm going to hit the S key, and I'm going to drag it in. Now, in my truck in real life, the wall scroll is about the same length as the Cascadia logo. So I see the Cascadia logo there. I'm going to drag this out just enough to cover the Cascadia logo and then click off. The positioning, however, is off in my truck. in real life, I have the hooks for this are actually in this vent here, and it is hanging from that vent. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. I'm not using 2D view or anything like that, because if I use 2D view, there's too much stuff in the way with this. So 2D view isn't always practical to use. So I'm going to grab it on a Z. I'm going to move it up, and that's too far, but we're going to bring it down a bit. Now I want to bring it out so that it looks like it is just below the vent. So GY, I'm going to move it forward. Remember what I said in the last episode? And this is a good example. If you guys will remember, in the last episode, I told you that whenever you import a vehicle for Truck Simulator into Blender, the front of the vehicle and the back of the vehicle will be along the green line. The red line is side to side, and up and down, of course, is always Z, no matter what direction someone's facing. So after a while of modding, you'll just get used to, okay, I need to move this forward in a cabin, that's Y. I need to move it to one side or the other, that's X. You'll get used to it, trust me. So, looking at it now, it needs to go up a little bit. Let's go Z, because it's a little closer to the vent. And there it is. That's about where it is in my real truck. If we even look at the picture of my wall scroll, and I'll go ahead and bring up the picture again for you guys to see. There it is right there. That's the wall scroll hanging on the hooks. You can see it's hanging from that vent. The scroll is about the size of the Cascadia. We pretty much have it positioned. Guys, we are actually almost done with the physical part of all this. So let's go ahead and get moving. So this is now positioned. I'm going to hit the tab key to come out of edit mode. I'm going to come back out here. I'm going to click somewhere outside the truck to unselect everything, then scroll back in and just kind of have a last kind of a quality look just to go, yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm very happy with this. I am going to export this model. Just the, we don't need to export the cabin or anything like that. We just need to export the wall scroll. So I'm going to click on wall scroll, and then there's this box over here. By the way, I'm up on the printer tab, this output properties. This is the tab that we're going to be using for this. I'm going to click on the folder for the default export path. And the default export path knows that we are in this project directory. It will always default to your project directory. So you don't need to worry about doing any crazy navigation to find your folder. It's by default. Vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel. Once you're in the back panel and you see my well, I don't know if you did the texture folder for yourself, it's your preference, but in my case, remember that Fade textures folder I created? Once I see that, I'm going to stop here. I'm in back panel and I'm going to select a directory. Now when I export this wall scroll, it's going to go into that directory. Oh, by the way, if you do not see this flag PIM on yours, please don't worry. Before I started this episode, I was trying to test something out, and I did import a flag from SCS, and so the model's there, but I just haven't deleted it yet. So don't panic if yours didn't look like that, and you're going, oh my god, what's with this file, and why don't I have that? All right, so now that I have the back panel set over here in a default export path, and by the way, if you ever want to double check the path, just overlap your mouse over it, and that box comes up that kind of displays the relative path description. The bottom line says value, and it says vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel. So if you don't see the whole directory here, no problem, the tooltip will show it to you. Let's confirm the settings at the top. Selection is selected, the checkbox is unchecked. Keep that unchecked. For some reason, Blender likes to play games with me if that's checked. So I always leave it unchecked. Active scene and all scenes are gray, so the selection is blue. That looks good to me, and our directory is done. We left all this stuff down here alone as well. So export scale should say 1. Apply modifiers should be checked. Apply edge split should be checked. And the output format should say game data format version 5. Looks good to me. So I'm going to hit the export button. Now, because the wall scroll is so small, it did it practically instantly, but down here in blue, it said export, and I'm going to export it again just because I'm trying to see. It says export successfully completed, exported 1 game object. Okay, and I didn't hurt anything by exporting it again. It didn't create a duplicate, it just overwrote it. I can sit here and export this wall scroll till I'm blue in the face. It's just going to keep overwriting the same file. So don't worry if you like accidentally hit export again. You're good. So now if we take a look, I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna open this and I'm gonna copy this path. But if you go into your project directory, if you go to vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel, and again, I'm gonna delete this flag because again, it got imported and I don't want it. Yours should look a little bit like this. It should say wall scroll PIM, wall scroll PIT. So wherever your project directory is, navigate it to the interior decors back panel, and there's your wall scroll. Huzzah! Good to go. That's it! Since this is the only thing we're really making for this, it's time to pack the mod. So back here under the printer, same thing. We're gonna actually go toward the bottom here, and we're going to go to the mod package settings. Now, by the way, for this next part, the SES conversion helper needs to be set. If you do not have the SES conversion tools set properly, go back to episode 2 and do that now. You got it set? You're sure? All right, good. Let's go ahead and continue then. Now that you've taken it off pause, we're going to navigate to a place where I can pack this mod. Now, what I like to do, you can see mine was preset, but I'm just going to show you. I like to pack all my mods into a particular folder. You know, that way, after I get done working with the files, I could just delete them, you know, after I pack them into my master mod or whatever. So in this case, I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this tutorial. Apparently I can't spell tutorial series. And I'm going to go into here, and I'm just going to press accept. Now for the mod name, I'm going to call it episode 401 initial, because this is my first hack of this mod. There's a reason why I'm kind of doing it this way. Just bear with me. You will see why here in a few moments. I have it set to folder. I'm actually going to switch it to zip uncompressed. Again, there's a reason why here in a minute. My settings are clean and convert. I have export unchecked. Why do I have export unchecked? There's no point to it. It's just an extra step because we've already exported it. We did it manually. I always export stuff individually, and then I'm going to click pack mod. Now this black window is going to come up, and depending on the size of your mod, this could take forever or it could go very quickly. In my case, it was just a truck cabin and a wall scroll, so it went quickly. Down at the bottom, it said packing done. Yeah, we're good to go. So now if I navigate to my project pack tutorial series, here's our mod, episode 401 initial.zip. I'm actually going to copy this path. This mod is not ready for your game yet. We have one more thing to do. What I'm going to do, and this part's probably going to be the part that scares you guys, I'm going to right click and delete everything in the scene. At the top, I right clicked and delete hierarchy. Now I'm going to go to the wrench and the screwdriver, and I'm going to change my project path again. I'm going to come up. You know how the first one I called it 01 initial? Now I'm going to do a new one, and I got to call it 02 separation. Just click into the folder. You can name it whatever. You can name it Barney for all I care. All right, so this is your second folder, and I'm going to do this as the project directory. I'm going to go to import SES models. Here is where we're going to get a little bit creative. I'm going to leave these 4 files up here as they were. That's fine. But now I'm going to go into my tutorial series folder, the tutorial series folder, which, by the way, since you set this folder in your mod settings for the mod packing, it should be one of your recents over here. Usually recent folders you worked with in this project will appear down here. In this case, I created 02 separation just a few moments ago, so it's at the top, but we just packed the mod into tutorial series. So this is kind of a shortcut for you. Here is our episode 401 initial.zip. Add this archive to the list, make sure it's at the bottom. Now I'm going to go to click import vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel, and look what we got here, wall scroll.pmg. I'm going to import that real quick. And because it's just a wall scroll and it's so low poly, here it is. It's to scale, and it's got the node, Here's the structure. It's under wall scroll and our pieces. By the way, this is normal, guys. Don't panic if it no longer says cylinder 1, cylinder 2, and Elysis or whatever the name of your image was. That's fine, because by default, when this becomes a game ready object, these get switched to piece 0, piece 1, piece 2, etc. You have now just imported this. Now I'm going to export it. I'm going to pack it again as a mod. This time I'm going to call it episode _04 _ final. This time I'm going to make it a folder. So you know how last time we had it zip uncompressed? We're going to switch it to folder this time. There's a reason for that. Again, guys, I know this is like drinking from a fire hose. Just bear with me. Click pack mod. Now this window is going to barely come up. It's going to be up here for a split second. Packing done, mod copy to, and it shows the path where it went to. The reason why? The only thing it packed was this. Now, you're probably thinking, Faye, why the hell did you have us export the wall scroll and then re-import it and then export it somewhere else? Here's why. When you pack the mod, it packs anything that was in your folder, your SCS project base path. Since we imported that truck cabin to our project base path, if we open the zip, we notice there's automat, material, vehicle. We have vehicle, we have share with some textures in here, metal, plastic. We have truck, Freightliner Cascadia 2019. We have all this stuff. All this stuff was in here. Car paint color and whatnot, share or whatever. And then we have upgrade. There's sub W pass because of the pre-pass that's included in the trucks for your way stations, and an interior decors, back panel, and whoa, we have wall scroll, PND, PNG, and fade textures. Okay, so all of that got packed into your mod because you imported it into that project directory while you were working with your project. When we re-imported the scroll and we did it out, here's the folder we created. Remember, we didn't do zip this time. We just created a folder, and it's episode 4 final. Now we have, our automats, our material or whatever, but then we have just vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel, wall scroll, and here's our textures. That's it. So in the final mod now, okay, I couldn't resist. Anyway, we just have our wall scroll on our necessary assets. That's all we need. Guys, you just created your first mod. No, I'm stopping you right there. Before you throw this in your mod folder and jump into the game, we have one more step to do. We need to write the text files that tell the game what to do with these files that we just created. So I'm going to have 3 windows on the screen, and depending on what operating system you're on, stuff acts differently. If you're on Windows, though, a lot of people that are on Windows actually don't realize you could do this. But I'm going to take this window and I'm going to actually pull it to where it takes a kind of up in the corner here, and boom, it is taking exactly 1/4 of my desktop. Now I'm going to open a file explorer. And this one, I'm going to go to, remember in episode 1 when I exported the DLC toys into their own folder? I'm going to navigate to that. I'm going to put that folder right here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to right click and put open a new window on any of these folders. Doesn't matter which one it is. Then I'm just going to go back up one so that we're looking at our root of our mod again. I'm going to pull this down into the lower right corner. Now we have our windows fit perfectly to where we can work with them. There's a reason why I do this. Okay, the left window is my reference. This is where I'm going to be pulling the stuff that I need. The upper window is where we're going to code. The lower window is going to be where we kind of reference our model. On the lower window, I'm going to go vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel, and I'm just going to leave it here at the wall scroll. The upper one, so I'm going to right click and create a new folder, and this one is going to be called def. Now we're going to create vehicle, new folder, vehicle. Aren't you guys glad you have a pause option? You're probably using it a lot right now. I apologize, but I'm just trying to keep the video time short. New folder. This one is going to be called truck. New folder. Copy and paste is a good friend here. By the way, if you're ever in doubt, just copy and paste. It'll save you problems. But Freightliner Cascadia 2019. And then in this folder, we have an accessory. So I'm going to create accessory, back panel. All right. Now the back panel, I'm going to kind of cheat on this one. I'm going to just copy the panel over the whole folder, which copied all this stuff. and then I'm going to delete all but one SII file. All right, so now I have the USA flag. The USA flag, I'm going to rename it to, you guessed it, wall scroll. And then I'm gonna open this sucker up. All right, I'm also gonna put this, I'll put it on the left here so that we can see it, because I want to see down here for reference. We have wall scroll, so I'm gonna actually come down here and I'm gonna copy the name of my model, which is wall scroll, and I'm gonna paste it here on line 3. So now it says accessory add-on data, wall scroll .freightliner.cascadia 2019.back panel. Since this is your first time looking at this, let's go ahead and go over this real quick here. So wall scroll, this first part on line 3 is always basically what your mod is, your particular model. For consistency purposes, it's not absolutely necessary to have the PMD and PMG be the same name as your SII and your mod, but I do it this way. I make sure that they all match because it just makes it so much easier to track stuff down in the future. I know that wall scroll SII is my wall scroll's definition file, which goes to the wall scroll model, which is the wall scroll in the game. Keep it simple, guys. Work smarter, not harder. I have seen some mods come out where people use crazy names for their model names, and it has nothing to do with like the SII, and it has nothing to do. It's just crazy how people name stuff. Keep it simple. I'm going to tell you guys something very important right now. This is critical. Do not ever have these names go over 12 characters. And this is why I was very adamant about keeping the name of the model, the name of the node in Blender under 12 characters. 12 characters is the max that the game will acknowledge. If you put anything over 12 characters up here, and by the way, I'm not talking about the whole line, I'm just talking about between each period, it will screw up on you. Now, Freightliner is exactly 12 characters. SES got lucky on Freightliner. All right, Cascadia 2019 is under 12 characters. Back panel is under 12 characters. Any part of the title, the identifier, which is line 3 of your SII files, has to be 12 characters or less. This is why we do things the way we do with naming. Wall scroll is 9 characters. All right, so we got wall scroll.freightliner.cascadia2019.backpanel. The name, I'm going to call this Ulysses wall scroll, or I could just call it Ulysses since I'm going to be, you know what, I'm going to take wall scroll off there. It could just be called Ulysses because I'm going to make a whole chain of wall scrolls out of this in the future to show you guys how to do looks. So we're going to be adding looks to this in a future video. Price, $150. Are you seeing this? SES software. What currency are you guys thinking? Because it sure as hell isn't US dollars. I'm wondering, you know, I wonder if the numbers are like this because they kind of bring the numbers over from the currency over there in Europe. SES software is in Prague, I believe. I don't know what the exact, are they on the euro? I don't even know if they're on the euro, but whatever it is, 100, if you're playing the game in, you know, it's American Truck Simulator. So when you're in a game, this translates to $150 for a flag. All right, this is from the default. Remember, we borrowed this from the default. No. Okay, so I'm going to make it 20. $20 is about what a wall scroll costs on Amazon. Not that I know. $20 on Amazon is about the average price. They actually average between like 15 and 25. So I'm going with 20 as a happy medium. Unlocks at level 0. We're going to leave that like that. Icon for flag. I don't want to do that. Do I? Nah, we're going to create an icon in the next episode as well. As a matter of fact, episode 5 is going to be a short episode. I'm going to show you how to do an icon. For right now, let's just leave it at flag. Part type is aftermarket. And then we have the interior model, which is vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel. What? It's not flag, it's wall scroll. So I'm going to hit paste again, wall scroll.pmd. And the exterior model, I'll do wall scroll.pmd. But there's a problem with this line. Exterior model. Uh-oh. Well, I don't have an exterior model yet. So I'm going to press Shift 3 in front of this line, which is, for those of us in my generation, the pound symbol. For those of you younger folks, the hashtag. Whatever you want to call it, I don't care. It's the pound symbol. Okay, I care. It's the freaking pound symbol. Stop calling it a hashtag. What this does is in the code, this is a commenter. It comments out the line. So the line is here. It exists. The game knows that anything with this in front of it, it's not going to try and load this line. So it's going to know that there's no exterior model for this flag yet. That will be covered in another episode as well. But for right now, I'm going to press S to save. And do you guys want the good news or the bad news? Well, the bad news is your icon's still going to be a flag. And you don't have an exterior model, because those are in future episodes. The good news is we are ready to test this in the game. All right, so episode 4 final. Our mod is ready. We're going to copy it. Now what I want you to do is I want you to navigate to your documents. You're going to go to your documents folder to American Truck Simulator. It's not under my games like other games are, like Farm Sim and all that. It's just its own thing. So you're going to go to your documents, go to American Truck Simulator, and then you're going to go into the folder called mod. In the mod folder, you're going to paste your wall scroll. Okay, episode 4 final. All right, let's go into the game and let's test this. This is the moment you guys have been waiting for to see if your first mod has worked. Launch the game. You're ready to launch the game now. That you guys are excited about this part. Before you go into your career, you need to activate that mod. So we're going to go into mods, 19 active, and we're going to click on episode 4 final. It's up here. I'm just going to leave it at the top. Doesn't matter. And confirm the changes. And then I'm going to click continue career. Now, my truck in the game is like out on the road somewhere. It's actually parked on an off ramp. So I'm not going to load in my particular truck. We'll just go into the store and we'll try. Besides, this is probably the method you guys, I'm pretty sure that most of you guys watching this video probably don't have the Cascadia in your fleet because you have other trucks you prefer. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to go to services and I'm going to go to truck dealers. I'm going to find a Freightliner dealer and you can visit selected dealer if you don't have this option. In my case, I progressed enough to where I have buy online. I'm going to look for the 72-inch sleeper RR raised roof because, well, that's what I drive. All right, and then I'm going to go into customization. Okay, and I'm just going to go straight for accessories back here, and I'm going to scroll back and look here, and here's the list, and there it is, guys. Now I'm going to look in my log. Did it throw any errors? Unknown name variant name default. Huh? Oh, that's something else. That's not even the wall scroll. This has to do with some side skirt bar. Okay, I don't know what that's all about, but that doesn't have to do with our mod. So our mod is not throwing any errors. It's visible. Congratulations. We did it. We just made a wall scroll. We put it in a truck. And now if you have a cabin like mine, I made my own cabin that looks like my real world truck. Oh yeah, look familiar? Definitely looks good. Oh, you know what? Now that I gotta put a red handle over there. Okay, note to self, add a red handle to the ladder. Maybe we could do that in a future video too. Good job, guys. Good job. I don't know when my next modding video will be. I am on vacation right now and I'm down to like the last day. I'm not making any more videos this week. So maybe next weekend when I get home, I'll show you guys how to make a UI icon. There are a lot of videos out there on how to do that, or you could dissect the files yourself and figure it out. But I think I have gotten you far enough to where now you could start experimenting and exploring your modding passions. Again, pat yourself on the back. If you made it this far and you got the wall scroll in the game, you did it. Because it doesn't matter what the scale is, if you're making an accessory or making an entire trailer like I've done for my trailer packs, the concept is exactly the same. The only difference is when you're starting to make more complicated stuff, you're adding in more components, but the concept is the same. So you follow these steps, you're started. Guys, take care. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode. In the next episode, we'll go over the UI icon. And then in the episode after that, we'll make the exterior model as well, so that it can appear from outside the truck. All right, guys, you take care. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next episode. See ya.